Okay, I'm with Heather Larue again. Training video on how to use the iPads. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so as you all know, for when you go to give the test, the PSI or the PSI, we are trying our best to move away from doing it on a piece of paper and actually using your iPad. That everyone should have a designated teacher iPad at this point. If not, talk to your administrator, your principal, and find out what their plan is to roll this out. It is the best way. The papers are not going to be lost. Other people can access the data, which is fantastic, because then your Title I's, anybody that's running walk to read groups has access to all the tests and knows where to begin. That's been a problem, is that the papers aren't being passed around correctly, and so no one knows where to begin. So a child is being tested the same skill over and over and over again, and that's not what's supposed to happen. So your iPad, when you turn it on, there will be a OneDrive app. Where it's located, I don't know, it's different for everybody. I put it down here because I access it constantly. So you'll click on your OneDrive app, and if you still don't have your OneDrive app, you're going to need to call the tech people, put in a ticket. Now, I have more files than you will, but you will have one that is titled Lincoln 95, or actually it'll be your school, the 95% OneDrive folders, something to that effect. You're going to click on that one, and then you're going to probably just have your grade. At least that's how I invited people. And I think all the other coaches did the same. So we're going to go into 4th grade here at Lincoln, and then you should only have your name, but I did share all teachers' names, depending, because the spec ed teacher needs access to everybody. So we'll click on. Now, all of your children that are going to walk to read that have been tested on a PSI, their folders are located right here. Now, something that I did differently, I actually did put all your students in, but I put the ones that aren't being PSI'd right now into a non-PSI student folder. So, because what if a child right now that's been doing phenomenally well in reading, and all of a sudden you start seeing that their percentile ranking is going down, so you decide to PSI them? Well, you don't have to go make a folder. You would just click in here, you would go find the child, and then you would move them back to the walk to read folder. And then people would have access. And what if a child is done, doesn't need it anymore? You filled all the holes. Then you can move them to the non-PSI student folder. Not everybody has done this. So if you're at a school that does not have all your students, this was something that I decided to do for my schools. So just talk to your coach, and I'm sure that we can figure out a way to help you. Or you can just add the folder as you go. Okay, so then you're going to click on whatever student you are testing. So we're going to click on this Kidlit, and there are going to be 2 folders in that child's folder. There will be the end of lesson. So if you're the one that's got this child in your walk to read group, and every time you finish a skill, you're supposed to give an end of lesson, you would go into the end of lesson, and you would pick the skill that you've been teaching. So for example, let's say that it's skill 9 that you've been teaching and you want to see how they're doing. Then you would go to whatever skill you were teaching. So let's say I was teaching 9.2. I would first click on the pen up here, or marker, or whatever that looks like to you. And then you're going to come down here, and I like to use black, but obviously you can use any color you want. So I click on the black, and then I always write the child's name, and I have no idea what that child's name was, so we're going to just write my name. And then I always write up here who is testing, because if you have questions about what they write, you need to know who to go to. And an initial isn't enough. So let's say that Mrs. Hayes, sorry, I'm writing in a weird direction. Mrs. Hayes was the one testing. So I would write Mrs. Hayes on there, or if I was Mrs. Hayes, I'd write Mrs. Hayes. Okay, and then 9.1, you would say ready, begin, or whatever you say to the child. Today we're going to test on the letters that we've been practicing, the silent letters. Make sure you read slowly for me. So they go ahead and begin, and they say nunned. That one's good. Then they say nied. Okay, for me, I go ahead, and even though they got the n part, which is what would be wrong if they didn't, but they said I'd. So I would write an I with a line on top because that means long. And then the teacher would know, oh, they didn't get the vowel sound. I wonder if that happened over here, because that would be a flag. If they're not getting the right vowel sounds, but they're getting the skill, they'll still get a 10 out of 10. So if you don't look at this, you're not going to know that they're actually still struggling with long vowel sounds if it becomes a pattern. So that's kind of nice. And if they say, let's say this one is canist, obviously they don't have that, and this is how I would write it, canist. And I would write it, and then I usually put a line through it because that means it's wrong. This one I'd leave alone because it was still correct. Okay, after you're all done, you tally up how many they got correct, you write it, and then over here, please put the date. It actually makes a difference if you put the date, because I need it to input it into another form. A lot of you are also doing Dibbles or 95% passages or Nat Geo fluency passages. Whatever you're doing, there's this little area right here that I have been inserting. So if you give me, oh, this child reads 93 out of 2, then I write it right there, and people know that this is their CBM for this time through this skill. Then when you're done, oh, well, actually, what if you make a mistake? So there is an eraser, and then you just go up and you erase. Now, if you double click on the screen, everything will go away. So
be careful.
Yes. So when I put my pen down, it is down for the count, and I erase whatever. And then I pick it up when I'm done. Okay. So then you push erase, and you want them all to be level if you want to scroll, because I'm telling you right now, I do this all the time. I go to scroll and then I do that because I forgot to put the pen down and make them all be level. So then I have to erase it, and then now I can scroll. Okay. So now I'm done. The biggest piece that you have to remember is to click this done button. Do not push your power button. Do not close down the window, or all will be lost. So click the done, and now you can walk away, because now it's good to go. But if you want to double check, which is something that I do, you click on the back arrow. And if you look down here, it says uploading file 1 of 1. Did you catch it?
Where's it say?
Right here.
File.
Here, hold on. I'll do it again.
Okay.
Because it's really fast. So it'll be right down here when we do it, okay? So let's write some in here. All right. So you click done. Then you click the back arrow. And then it says uploading file 1 of 1. File uploaded.
Okay.
And then I move on because
It's recorded.
yes, I feel like I'm safe. So, and then you can backspace or go back, or yes, go back and do your other child. Now, let's say it's PSI time. So I go into the PSI, and you will have 3 folders because there are 3 forms that you are to give. Form A, or one of the folders, should only have the first month that you test and the last month, because the idea is then you have one that isn't done over and over, and maybe they might memorize. The other 2, you should be switching back and forth, and it actually should say what months you use that form, which is kind of nice. So let's say I am in January, so I click on Form C, click on the folder. And then the form even is titled, so I click on the January Form C. And then I go and I begin recording. So I write the student's name, I write who's evaluating, so I know if I have questions, I can go back to that person, and they write the date. Then obviously I need to scroll to whatever skill I should begin testing on. So I would scroll until I found, let's say that they were on skill 5. Then I would go ahead, click my pen. There we go. Click, because I like black. And then I'd say, okay, I'm ready. Now remember, we're testing on long vowel, silent E. What, long vowels do what? What's the rule? They say their name. Okay, ready? Here we go. They're silly words or pseudo words or nonsense words, whatever you call them. And then they would say vame. That one's correct. Then they would say mife. That one's correct. Then they would say zap. That's incorrect. And they did an A sound. So I would write the app and I'd put a line through it. Then they would say sown. Then they would say ripe. Well, they did the long vowel sound, but they did the incorrect long vowel. So I do an I with a line. A lot of the times, though, what they do, which you, I'm sure, have seen, they'll actually do short sounds. So they'll do strez. So all I do is I just do the symbol above the E for short. I don't write strez.
Kind of shorthand type.
Yes, because you're trying to keep up with the child. Now, if they get too fast, you are allowed to tell them to stop and slow down or repeat. That's okay. Now, a lot of the times, too, is that they'll go and they'll start saying all the short sounds. It's okay to tell them, stop. I think you forgot the rule that we're testing on. What's the rule again? Oh, long vowel, that's right. And usually they'll fix themselves. That's okay. That means they understood. They just weren't remembering. They weren't paying attention, basically. They just went into their normal read mode, which you don't want them to do during this short little time of the skill testing. Okay? And then that's it. You click done. Don't forget that done. And then you click the back arrow. And now it'll say uploading and file uploaded.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you
You're welcome.
so much.